Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to our edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. I've got my bearings now. After the assassination of Charlie Kirk, it hit me. I didn't know how to react. I know who the guy is. I know what the guy has done, but there should never be folks killing other folks. This is not, we are progressives. We believe in humanity. We believe in humanity. We don't believe in harming others. In fact, we fight so hard because the things that we support are the things that make life better for all, irrespective of ideology, irrespective of party. So I was thrown for a loop because I know who this guy is and he doesn't represent any of that. And immediately after a murder, you try to think about, what do you talk about? How do you say this? How is this going to sound? Well, you know what? After waking up to watching how the mainstream media, it started from yesterday. After watching how they are going to turn, and first of all, let me back up to Charlie Kirk's family, his kids, his wife, people who love him. My most sincere condolences, and I say that from the depths of my heart. From the depths of my heart. Now, the reality, however, we better get the reality now and not allow this assassination to be used as a tool to change history, to change reality. So that's what we are going to be talking about today. That is where we are going today. And I want to have your involvements. I want to hear your commentary. I want, if you want to call in as well, you know the number, 281-823-7747. But we want to talk about these issues. Welcome aboard. Lee the Bearcat from Austin, Texas, AVQ from Brooklyn, New York, Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia, Patrick Magner from Houston, Texas. We also have Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia. We have Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. We have, let's see who else is in the house. Bear with me as I call out Lee Grant from Montgomery County. We have Do You Lie here in, here in Texas. We have Jonathan, Wayne, Kendall, Vicky, and remember the first few dozen folks, we haven't said anything. Now, we haven't seen that yet. Welcome aboard. Bruce Pollard from Kingwood, Texas. Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita. Darrell says, Charlie Kirk behaved poorly for many years. The party of personal responsibility have to admit that he's responsible for his own demise. I won't quite say it that way. Welcome, Paul Cisak from Missouri. Darrell is from, I think, here in Texas. Loretta Viner, welcome aboard. All right, here's what I want to do. I want to start where sort of what we covered yesterday. As I said, one of the first things that I knew that we have to not fall for the false sense of for what these folks are going to do with this. We have to get with the program, and it started yesterday when they had a terrorism expert come onto the network, onto MSNBC, and then started to speak about, and he didn't have to say it. You guys can look up the video that I created from MSNBC. He was never asked about where violence was coming from, political violence. He was just asked about the fact. But he had to interject the lie that violence has been mostly from the left. One of the biggest fallacies out there from the inception of our country. Let's be very, very clear. From the inception of this country, violence has come from the right. And every time there has been violence on the left side, it has always, and again, we shouldn't use violence to solve most things. And notice I said most things because when the United States wanted to get Manuel Antonio Noriega, they used violence. And 10,000 innocent Panamanians died. I know the book says 1,000, the UN says 4,000. I know where Chorrillo is, 10,000. That's what we did. When there was a boat going from Venezuela likely to Trinidad, we blew it up. So let's not talk about as if we just don't believe in violence. Because we do. Because we do. I want you to, and I'm about to pull it up right now. We should always try to avoid violence. But again, let's be real. Now, what I want to do, first of all, is this. I want to get rid of the fallacy that somehow we are responsible, or rather that the left is mostly responsible for violence. In the last few terms, what we have from Seteo, and I'm going to put that on the screen for you, is Seteo went ahead and enumerated all the recent right-wing attacks. And we have here Melissa Hartman and her husband Mark were killed. Political killing, right-wing person killing a politician. Joe Shapiro's home was firebombed with the expectation that he would die. Okay? We also have that 4 Democratic officials in New Mexico, shootings at their homes, right-wing, arrested. Nancy Pelosi and her husband, again, convict, try to kill her husband. Mike Pence, the January 6th supporters wanted to hang him. Okay? And I can go on and on. Whitmer getting arrested. None of that. You can find none of that on the left. And let me just say something about the left as well. For every time the left has been involved in radicalization, it has been to bring freedom to somebody. Think about it. One side has always been to oppress, the other side to bring freedom. One side to oppress, the other side to bring freedom. In fact, when the analysis is done, what you find, and I'm pulling that up right now, when the analysis is done, the violence in this country, this is what it looks like, my brothers and sisters, okay? From the inception of this country, right-wing violence, a persistent pattern. Slavery and Reconstruction, before the Civil War, after the war, Reconstruction, the groups linked to the Democratic Party of that era, when the Democratic Party was a part of that right-wing cabal. Then we had the labor movement and all the different instances in the labor movement that the right wing was used to suppress them. The civil rights era, the right-wing attacks, the modern right-wing extension that we have now that Seteo was talking about. And you can count on one hand whenever we talk about left-wing violence. So let's be very, very clear. Oops, I have the wrong screen on. Violence in this country has a right-wing bias. And Mr. Cisak, none of this is made up. I have all the documentation on the screen with the relevant links to prove what I'm saying. Okay. Michael says The Atlantic, Trump's dangerous response to Kirk assassination. Rather than condemning violence and calling for unity, the President of the United States accused his political opposition of being accessories to murder. And that we don't have a clue who has committed the murder yet. I see there's a press conference going on right now. It just says rapid developments in Kirk suspect, but no arrest yet from what I've seen. No arrest yet from what I've seen. So we don't know what it's all about. Numerous alt-right pundits in the right-wing bubble are calling for state violence against a leftist threat that doesn't exist, despite the identity and motives of the shooter currently remaining unknown, and while every democratic leader and pundit are calling for calm. That's what I said. We ought to not run the risk of falling for the okie doke. We cannot sit here and allow these guys to carry the narrative. The narrative must be carried from truth. From truth. Politico. Farmers' loyalty to Trump is about to be tested. The agriculture industry has stuck by the president even as his trade wars have hit their bottom line. This fall harvest may see the limits of patience. As a result of President Donald Trump's trade war in China, crop farmers have lost a significant export market. Yep, they're cutting down their crop and just letting it rot in the field. Let's see. Crop farmers have lost a significant export market, driving down the price of U.S. crops like soybeans and corn. Even Trump tariffs drive up a cost of farm equipment and fertilizer. And let me tell you what I'm watching for. I'm not going to finish this one here, but let me tell you what I'm watching for. The price of corn and all these items should crater, which should mean the price of bread, the price of cornmeal, the price of beef feed, meaning cattle feed, all of that should be falling, which should, with the oversupply this year of farm goods, all these other products should fall in price. I bet you they don't fall. Again, the collusion of the economic system. But we'll move on from that. Let's see what else we've got here before I move on. Because I got a video for you. Going down. All right, your house was stacked, wasn't it? Yeah, actually, my house was attacked with firebombs. What do you call it? Roman candles? They had a big stack, this thick of Roman candles. They positioned it into the thing, and then they blew it up on my house. Patrick Magner, how you doing, sir?
You said that we could call. I'm doing fine. I hope I'm not calling too early.
No. You can call. I have a 10-minute video, but that's fine. I want to hear from you all.
This will be quick. Wasn't your house firebombed?
My house was firebombed as well and again, they knew exactly who I was. They knew exactly where I lived, and I had my cameras out there. I have more now, but I had my cameras out there, and you could see an older person walked up to my home, put the Roman candles positioned into the shrubbery, and have it shooting at my front door. My wife and my daughter got into a panic, and it could have burnt the house down. But, we caught it in time. We kind of wet certain things down. But yeah, I've not only gotten my home firebombed, I've gotten the letters in the mail. I've gotten excrement mailed to me. I mean, you name it, I've seen it. There was a part of my website that had hate letters, and I used to print every single hate letter that I get. I used to post it on my website just so that people could see what's happening out here. The right wing, these guys are vicious, and they try to make it seem otherwise. It's always projection. Like Donald Trump talking about people taking over, and he's projecting with all the things that he's doing. But continue, my brother.
All right. When Bart called in this morning, you rightfully cut him off. He did a great job. But what spewed out of his mouth was just the same hatred that you'd hear from Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
Matt immediately started talking badly about people that we trying to defend and people that are just trying to fit into society. So you hung up on him. You did a great job. what's his face that always calls in at the end, Brian.
You're talking
You
Brian,
handled
yeah.
that, and then you gave the time. I usually criticize you, and I'm not this time because you did a great job with giving the other conservatives some time. You had him point out that he didn't even listen to the program. You had him point out that he didn't know who the gunman was, and he was saying y'all. He was trying to put people in a group and trying to frame them in a violent manner when he had no right, and he didn't even listen to the program. So you did fantastic this morning with all of that. And
Well,
then
thank
I also
you.
like to point out, I mean, I couldn't have done it any better. Usually there's a couple of tweaks that you could do, but no, I mean, you handled all three of those callers perfectly.
I'm learning. I'm
I
learning
to
how
point
to cut people off when necessary. I'm learning.
I have a question. Didn't Trump fire all the competent people from the FBI and cut their funding?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And
So,
one of the go ahead.
had he not, maybe they would have caught this guy beforehand.
Yeah, and here's the thing though. Here's what I'm wondering, and I don't see how this guy got away so easily. I want to see if they're going to catch this guy. They're giving impressions like they know who it is. Maybe they know who it is. We'll see. But you're absolutely right. It took them a long time to set up the tip line. It took them a long time to set up the feature to upload videos. It was just an organization of incompetence with the FBI as it is right now because they got rid of the people of competence. Again, DEI for you know who.
Yeah, I mean, they caught the guy in the bush 6 months ago that might have assassinated Trump, but that was before they did a clearinghouse on all the competent FBI people. So
exactly.
Now again, this is another just kind of, they made a bed, now they got to lie in it.
Yeah, exactly. And again, the thing that what I want the program to be about today, however, is right now I can smell how the narrative is going to be with Charlie Kirk. After the next few days, they're going to make this a template of what the left does and what we have to do to be clear. Independent journalists. I'm going to play what I did with Marlon Weems in a minute. But what we have to do is keep it clear. We don't believe in violence, but Charlie Kirk was not a nice guy, and Charlie Kirk harmed a lot of people. So let me go ahead and play the video, and then we'll get back with this. All right, my brother?
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Take care now. All right, folks. The video I'm going to play is a live Substack live I did with Warren Memes, who writes for the Journeyman. I called him up today and said, I want to do a video, a live on this Charlie Kirk thing, because as it turns out, I think we've got to get it right. What they're going to do is try to spin it incorrectly. But before I start, let me go ahead and salute Jonathan Wayne Fincher, Loretta Viner, Julie, Jane Spigott, John A. Davis, Richard Sylvester, Johnny Matthew, Michael Thurk, Marilyn Kerr, Sandy S. Arena Perro, Barbara Baducci, Kimberly Reeves, MJ, and all the others. Thank you all for being here. And likewise, I saw some others that I needed to do, but forgive me, I can't get to all of you. Let's go ahead and listen to the Weems video that I did earlier, and then we'll take it on the other side.
I tell you, Marlon, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to do this chat, with the expectation that a lot of folks would listen to this chat and also move this chat forward. Mm-hmm. Because as you mentioned, two things can occur at the same time. Mm-hmm. We know the guy was an evil being, but no human being deserves to be sniped away. No human being. That's what we believe. I am a progressive. I assume you are, but I'm a progressive.
I am. I would, and I'm a Democrat for the time being. We'll see how that goes. But I would consider myself a progressive for sure.
So we believe in humanity. We believe in We don't want, in fact, the fight that we have, the things that we support are not for one group or the other. The things we support is for everybody. And whether people like what we support or not, guess what? They enjoy it when they get it. We fought for Social Security.
Absolutely.
Republicans and Democrats love it. We fought for the minimum wage. Republicans and Democrats love it. We fought for SNAP. They love it. All of them love it. So we don't fight for things that are not for everybody. But that said, that's not what we're about. It turns out that this morning I started the program, and as usual, you would have some conservatives that called into the program. And they were trying to spin the narrative that MSNBC and ABC and CBS and all the others are spinning. And that narrative is that somehow this guy wanted civil discourse. This guy wanted conversations. And what I try to explain is a conversation that goes on to a campus and tell women you are there to get a man, and after that have children and take care of the family. That's no conversation. A conversation that says, when I get on a plane and I see a black pilot, and this is where I say this materially affects us.
Exactly.
You and I have been used to, because of our age, being followed in stores. You and I are key. You as a stock analyst and all the great things in the financial sector. Your intellect has been questioned because of your pigmentation. As an engineer, my qualifications have been questioned because of pigmentation. And we know that the younger people have been growing out of those fallacies. The younger people have been starting to realize that was hogwash. I want to know your talent. I want to know what you are able to accomplish. The young people have been finding that we have a Charlie Kirk, rest his soul. We have a Charlie Kirk that was there to indoctrinate the next generation on the lies that actually marginalized people like you and me, people like women that are listening to this right now, people like the underprivileged listening and watching us right now. That is his legacy. And for them to try to rewrite his legacy on MSNBC and Fox News, it does a disservice to all of us, because what it does is it deifies somebody that has definitely caused more harm in our political system than not. And if we start to look at this as an embrace of this person for fear that people are going to say, you are supporting what happened to him, two things can be right at the same time. No, we don't support murder. No, we don't support harm. But no, don't we support harming other people as well, or demeaning women, etc.
So one of the things that like I said yesterday, I spent a lot of time just because guys like Charlie Kirk, I tend to just sort of remove them from my, from my feed, so to speak. And occasionally he'll pop up on YouTube, when somebody, as they say, dunks on him or whatever. So I wanted to go back and just sort of remind myself of what kind of guy we're talking about. And I ran across, the article, but I remember seeing the video of an event that he did. I think it was in Idaho. And, there Q&A, and he gets to a guy, and the guy says something along the lines of, well, this is going to be an unusual question. And the subject appeared to be, stop the steal, right? That the election was stolen. That was the subject. And this guy's question to Charlie Kirk was, when do we get to start killing these folks? How many times are we going to let them steal elections before we can start killing? To his credit, Charlie Kirk said, hey, I'm going to denounce that. That was his response.
Good.
But then he continued, and instead of telling that guy how wrong that way of thinking was, he said, see, that's just what they want you to do. They want you to go out and do something so they can take your guns from you. Not that you don't need to do that ever. No conversation like the one we're having. He immediately turned the conversation to blame Democrats, progressive, the left, however you want to look at it. It's them that's making you feel this way. So then I go on. Next thing I run across, he's on a campus, and it's actually a young black lady that is asking him why it is he's pushing for Derek Chauvin, the guy who, murdered George Floyd. He's been found guilty of this. So there it is. And he proceeded to justify this man being killed in the way that he was. He said this guy, that was allowed for him to put his knee on the man's neck. And if he hadn't been a drug addict, he wouldn't have died. So this man should be released from prison. So I don't know how other people feel about this, but to me, that just foments a level of disdain for the other, hatred. And it's, he comes across with this baby face like he's a really nice guy. And and what they're trying to do now, and I heard on MSNBC, a fellow who was at the scene, and he must have been, this was in Utah. He was I think a former state senator, may have been a current state senator. And you would have thought he was talking about the sweetest guy on earth.
Yeah, you're talking about
MSNBC.
I saw it.
I got it. Look, maybe you were friends with him, but we have to recognize the things that are being said ultimately lead to this kind of upheaval, one way or the other. And this is what got the guy on MSNBC fired yesterday. Look, you can't, I don't care left, right, center, whatever. If you're going around and you're picking on the people who are the weakest and the most marginalized and the poorest. And in the meantime, by the way, I pointed this out, it's been a couple of months ago, and it was in a totally different context. In 2015, Charlie Kirk's little nonprofit was not that big. And I just looked because the point I was making was how the right dumps money on guys like Charlie Kirk and elevates this kind of performative hate, whatever you want to say. And it went from, I don't know, maybe 6 figures of income, low 6 figures. And then last year, it's in the millions. I mean,
hundreds of millions.
Oh, yeah, it's up there. And, it's money coming from all the places you can imagine. And then you have guys like us that are out here, with our little megaphones shouting into the abyss, right? And I mean, this is, it to me is almost the unfortunate, sort of the end of where this always ends up.
I want to read something that Mac Nelly Torres put out here. She said, did you read this obit in the New York Times? I'm a journalist and currently independent, and I'm stunned at the awful way the media is covering all this. It is unethical and so wrong. And I assume she's talking about the glorification, the deification that they're doing of this guy. This guy was a promoter of hate. But then again, this is the same media that gives Donald Trump plausibility. So, here is a guy that is that a judge has called a rapist, that's been convicted several times, that has grabbed on women's stuff, that have done all these things, and we treat him like a normal human being. The mainstream media does. So we have to by now, and this is self-serving, but to both of us. Yesterday, when that guy went on MSNBC and immediately told all the MSNBC listeners that most of the over the last several decades, centuries, most of the political violence came from the left. Independent media had to correct that immediately, and that's why I came out and said, "Hey, let me get the information, starting from slavery reconstruction, the labor movement, and all of those have subcategories."
Well, not all the lynchings.
Right. The modern right.
I mean, where's he coming from with this?
Yes, the modern right-wing extremists, even recently, we're not even talking about, well, it used to be that way. It continues being that way. And then he has a list of the portions from the left. Very small. We have things like the Weather Underground that used to create a lot of bombs, but make sure the bombs didn't kill people. The anarchist violence in the late 19th and early 20th century. And present day, we just have a few. Antifa, even though some of Antifa hasn't really been Antifa, proven that it's actually been the right acting as whom they want to call Antifa. Now, I want to give a big kudos to our brother at I think it's Sateo, because what he did as they continued, whoops. Whoops, like that happened again. And the reason I want to do that is what he did is he came out with a list, and a list of the left wing, or I should say, a list of the right wing attacks. And he came out and he said, please don't forget Melissa Hartman, the senator, or the state lawmaker Hartman,
Right.
and her husband Mark. Don't forget about the attempted assassination of Josh Shapiro. Don't forget the 4 Democrat elected officials that the shootings of. Don't forget Nancy Pelosi and her husband. Don't forget what they tried to do to Mike Pence. Don't forget that they murdered Judge Esther Salas's son.
Right.
Don't forget that they tried to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer. Don't forget of the pipe bombs for Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Don't forget about Heather Heyer, who they drove and killed. And you go ahead and you can bring the list down.
I mean, this
of
is
all
like
these
recent history.
crickets.
You know,
Nothing
the other
out of
part of that, man, if I can just interject, is
yes,
this. Don't forget the President of the United States.
yes,
We're talking about a guy who said, if I don't win, maybe I need to get my Second Amendment people involved.
there you go.
Okay? He's calling people vermin. He's practically quoting Mein Kampf.
Yes,
Okay? He's holding. Do you remember during the run up to the election, they literally held an event in Madison Square Garden that looked like the Nazi event that happened back in the 20s, 30s, whenever. And it's like, are y'all kidding me right now?
it was such, and you know, the funny thing about it, when I saw the Madison Square Garden event, and then I watched the coverage in the mainstream media, they normalized it.
They
It was
believe that their
offensive.
role is to just observe, like you see in these science fiction movies where there's this person from some galaxy and they're just there to observe and not interject anything into it. And
Right.
I have a different view of what the media's job is.
Mhm.
I think it should be about what is true, not just
Right.
repeating what is said. Okay. Yeah, you quote somebody, and then I think there's an obligation to say something, not just stand there and let it happen.
All of our country's problems, from polarization to ignorance on domestic and international issues to a complete misunderstanding of our economic and healthcare systems, are at the...
Oops, I couldn't get the buttons pushed fast enough. Anyway, so I hope you got that. Now, let me just say, Marlon and I went on for about just under an hour. So what you want to do is I'm going to release that with with my blog, with the whole interview that we did, or the whole conversation that I had with Marlon is going to be sent out to our mailing list. A few. It's a very good conversation that covers a lot more than you see out of that excerpt. But for those who are sitting down there thinking we're giving this guy who just got assassinated a hard time, or we don't have a heart, etc. No, what we're doing here is very important. They are trying, all of the mainstream media has been trying to deify Mr. Kirk. They are trying to deify this guy. And if that is accomplished, then all the bad deeds that he's done is the norm. That cannot we cannot let that cauterize into people's minds. We cannot do that. We cannot do that. This is a guy who, after mass murders, have murdered people after people, kids, made a comment and said, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our God-given rights. This is a prudent deal. It is rational. Is that humane? And if you doubt that that was really said, let's let you hear what that really sounds like. Let's go ahead and do that. Wait, I better start it over again.
Of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe.
Now, let me tell you something that occurred today. I don't remember which team it is, But there's a team today that somebody repeated what he said. Listen to what I'm saying. They retweeted, I think it's a retweet. They retweeted what Charlie Kirk said, that it is prudent to have a few gun deaths every year in order to keep our God-given, I don't know where you got the God-given from, right to carry guns, our Second Amendment right. Somebody just retweeted and said, okay, so Charlie Cook was it turned out that somebody assassinated Charlie Cook. Horrendous, terrible, violence should never be done. But according to Charlie Cook's own words, having that whatever that weapon that was used, having that on the streets, keeping that legal, a few deaths are justified in order to maintain that legality. That's not out of the mouth of somebody else. That's out of his own mouth. And I think it is very repeated.
It's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe. I think it's worth it.
So that is his belief. So that is his belief. There are some deaths justified. There are some deaths justified according to him. I don't think any deaths are justified. I don't think the death of Charlie Cook was justified. Now, I am a person of color. I'm a black man. I'm a Latino man. I am a Caribbean man. And this guy, for me to accept the fantasy and the narrative that we are listening to on MSNBC, CBS, ABC, and all these other networks, deifying this guy. Look, it's horrendous what happened to him. But turning this guy into a martyr is a slap on all our face. Are you a woman? It's a slap on you. Are you a black person? It's a slap on you. Are you a Latino? It's a slap on you. Are you Asian? It's a slap on you. Why? Because this is his true feelings.
All right, so I'm gonna quote you real quick. You said if I see a black pilot, I'm gonna be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. Are you gonna do that?
Yeah, I mean that is correct. Yeah,
that's correct. Okay, so can we both agree?
What was the context of what I said though?
What was the context? I don't even want to get into DEI because your opinion on DEI, it doesn't really help it in this case. So, if the context between what you brought up was that you believe that
because they were being hired because they were black.
Okay, so can we both agree that every single pilot, whether black, white, whoever, has to go through FAA certification?
No, actually,
we can't.
New lawsuit shows that black pilots and female pilots have the standards being relaxed.
No, sir. Can we agree at the time of February 29th or 2023 when you said it at the time? No?
No, actually, I said it. That's why you don't know the context. Is that new lawsuits were showing that they were relaxing the standards for air traffic control and pilots in order to meet the standards.
The context of that was diversity, equity, and inclusion. What does that have to do with hiring?
Everything. DEI definitionally is that we will hire more of a race versus a different race. So, for example, United Airlines said that they want 50% of their new pilots to either be women or black. Okay. Currently, just so you understand, it's like 8%. So they want to go from 8% to 50%. Okay. And every time DEI is implemented, every single time, the lowering of standards occurs. Every single time.
Lowering of standards?
Correct. So can I prove it to you? We both want excellence, right?
Okay.
If you and I said, hey, we want 50% of the new people going in the NBA are white.
Okay.
Would the NBA drop in its standard?
No.
Now, I'm glad the guy answered that way because the idea, what the guy was about to explain, and Charlie Cook was being very racist there. He was actually saying white guys can't play basketball, but black guys can play basketball better. And here is what, and let me give a lesson. This guy, the evil within that statement. I mean, Larry Bird was Larry Bird because he worked at it, just like those brothers who play basketball. The white brothers and black brothers who excel at basketball excel because they do it, and they do it over and over again, more so than anyone else. That's what it takes. Practice. It's not an inherent thing. But you listen to Charlie Kirk right there. What he was promoting was there was some genetic thing that made black guys better than white guys in basketball. It's not true. You take a look at a lot of our white brothers from Europe who grew up on the playground playing basketball. They for a long time they were coming into the NBA and just kicking butt. Why? Because they practice and they practice and they practice, just like the guys who are on the basketball field all of the times. Let me tell you, because racists like this guy is what has always made, if you take a look at the best in every one of these sports field, being, let's say, a black person when the Venus Williams and them were the leader, or when Tiger Woods was on, or whatever. It's that in order to cross the bar in the past, it was so hard for a person of color, for a woman to do it, that they had to work so much harder, which inherently made them that much better. So in effect, the prejudice and the racism actually made made the skills of these other people that much better than their own. And that is what they don't get. Guys like racists like what this guy was, God rest his soul, that's what they don't get. Tiger Woods was the best golfer, not because he was a black guy. He was the best golfer because to get there, he had to be better than anybody else. He didn't get a chance to fail. The same with basketball. The same with things. So I told my audience earlier today, if you see a plane that is being driven, flown by a black person, I want you to feel much safer, because for that person to get there, the lie is that standards were lowered. That has always been the lie. I worked at NASA. On the space station. And I remember I worked on the apps project, application program, and I also worked on the transferred interface module. And I remember I was so, the figment of my imagination was that, oh, I have to overperform. So I remember going into meetings when we were designing the TCP/IP layer for the Apollo computers that worked with, it was the Apollo, the Mac, the PC, and we had to create a interface module. And I knew nothing about TCP/IP, and I am a black engineer, and there are 6 other white engineers that are dealing this project. I never forgot that weekend I went to the Brown bookstore. That's a science bookstore here in Houston. And I studied everything I needed to learn about TCP/IP, everything about TCP/IP. I was working for Planning Research Corporation then. That was the company that was subcontracting to NASA for that part of the project. And we're doing the TIFM module. And I go into the meeting, and after studying that weekend, I go into the meeting. The only qualified person on TCP/IP was myself. Not because they couldn't have been, but because I felt I had to overperform. And that weekend, I spent learning. After that occurred, I got a call from the manager at Ford Aerospace and called in, hey, we want you to leave Planning Research Corporation and come and run this project for us. The only reason I'm telling you that is not for a pat on the back. It's about the fallacy that you hear. You hear that these black folks or Latino folks who get these professional jobs are unqualified and that they had to lower standards. But those people who live it understand that it's not about lowering standard. It's about you having to overperform to even be tried to get into the job. That is the reality. That is the reality. And when you have to sit down and a new generation, everybody talk about Charlie Kirk being young, 31 years old, and what he's accomplished at 31 years old. Well, hell, if at 31 years old, I got the financial backing that he got to go try and indoctrinate college students and teach them about racism and teach them about sexism and teach them about homophobia and teach them all these things. If I had that money to do that, but to do something positive, oh my God, the success that would have accompanied that. But you see, that's not what about. These guys are the guys that have never earned. They are the ones that have never earned their position. You watch this guy when he went over to England to do this debate. They cleaned his clock. He knew nothing about African history. He knew nothing about colonialism. He knew nothing. He just has the talking points. And the British folks at, I think it was at Oxford, made him look like a fool. We have a high school guy that interviews him on TikTok, makes him look like a fool. And this is who we have the mainstream media deifying right now as being this great intellect. And folks have to listen to that. It is a slight in my face. It is a demeaning thing to people like me. To every woman that's listening, having to have this guy go out there and say all these things about women, and in his demise, for people to forget what he represented, to make him something he never was. It is okay to say nobody deserved to be killed. Nobody deserved the violence. Nobody does. But to go out there and try to change history and talk about this guy as if he was a good thing, he was trying to put us back for decades. That conversation that I just showed you with him and this black person trying to say, be scared when you're riding with a black pilot, that is, what do you think that does? What do you think that does? Okay? Let's be clear. Let's be clear. What you find here is a media attempting to rewrite history, to deify, and to give a positive onto somebody that was nothing but a promoter of hate, a promoter of sexism, a promoter of homophobia, a promoter of all that is wrong with America. Let's be sad about someone killing him. Let's be sad about that. Let's be sad about that. Okay? But I tell you what. Let's be passionate. Let's show compassion for his two kids that will grow up without a father. Let's show compassion for a wife that will go to bed for the time being alone. But as far as what he represented, there was nothing good about it. Yesterday, I had a hard time deciding if I could tell the truth as an objective activist journalist. And as I watched the mainstream media change who this guy was, try to make this, as I watched people get fired, as I watched Matthew Dowd get fired for telling a truth, as I watch employees at a store for telling what this guy is, get let go. We have to be there for them. We have to be there so that a narrative doesn't come down that shut people up. All of you that are listening to me right now, we have to be there. Because again, they are trying to rewrite history. They are trying to rewrite history. We cannot allow that to occur. We cannot allow that to occur. Okay. I don't think I have any more videos, so you guys can give me a call, 281-823-7747, 281-823-7747. Let me put that, 281-823-7747. Give me a call if you want to add to the discussion, guys, because like I said yesterday, it took me by shock And this is something that I should have been ready to say yesterday, because we all know who, well, those of us in the activist world, we all know who Charlie Cook is. We all know what he represents. We all know that he's a clear and present danger to a lot of folks. We know that. We know that. But how do you say that right after the person has been assassinated, right? Well, the reason I think I felt so free to say it now is because a lot of people are getting harmed in his demise. A lot of good people are getting harmed because they dare tell the truth about this guy and what he represented. And then for the mainstream media to give him a pass, give his legacy a pass, it's a danger. A legacy, he doesn't have a legacy worth speaking about, because his legacy is a legacy that harms me. It's a legacy that harms every woman. It's a legacy that harms every person of color. It's a legacy that harms every trans and every gay or whatever. And that is something. Whether Trump, John, come on in.
Yeah, what I wanted to say was that you look at, yes, what I wanted to say was that.
Turn your radio down,
I'm getting
John.
an echo.
Yeah, you got to turn your radio down. That's the reason why. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, what I wanted to say was that how about all of the people hired in the Trump administration that know absolutely nothing about disease, about anything that...
We hung up, but I didn't hang up. That something happened with your connection. Let me just answer that question though, because you're absolutely right. When you have a president talking about DEI and talking about hiring the most competent people, having Kennedy running HHS, having Hegseth running the Department of Defense, it just blows in the face that this is a serious administration. God forbid we get an attack in this country. Just with the assassination of Kirk, we see the incompetence of the FBI being run by whatever the FBI director's name is, I forget, Patel. Just the incompetence of the FBI already. More than likely, we're going to have a lot of trouble finding this guy. So yeah, the Department of Defense is run by a complete, well, you know what. All right, please notice that the right is trying to perpetuate the violence. Those from the left typically don't. No, we don't. We believe in humanity. That's who we are. That's who we are. That's who we are. Okay, Paul Fleming, look, why would they ever vote Republican, Six? Come on in, Magner.
Hey, two times in the same day. It sounds like John was going in the same direction that I was going yesterday at the end of the phone call, and I don't know if you had time to look over the article and watch the video I sent, but they came out with several supportive studies that indicate that conservative people are having a very difficult time with science, and it's because the organizations and the lobbying keeps undermining it, and they've lost confidence in it. And even when the science supports a conservative idea, they still don't trust it and don't understand it.
Yeah.
And so then you have to ask yourself, how do you approach somebody if you can't use science, if you can't use facts?
And that is where I mentioned we have to work with those people that are on the edge. In other words, there are some people that are still biased in that they are conservative and they're holding on to their tribe. We have to give them permission to hold on to their tribe, but vote the right way. we have to give them latitude to hold on to their tribe. Again, a lot of this stuff is tribal, and we have to get there because again, we need them. And you're correct there. I haven't read all your stuff yet, but I will. But here's the thing: we need more of these folks, and the problem is exactly as you explained it. So what we got to do is we got to give them some latitude. We have to give them a little bit of grace, if you will, because there are those that are immutable, like some in the chat right now, CSEC, etc. There's no critical thinkability there at all. So therefore, you cannot expect to be successful there. But there are some on the edge, sufficient to give us about 60% or so. And that's where we got to do our work. Anything else, my brother?
Yeah, I'd like to point out real quick, and then I'll end it, that when some of the violence from the right perpetuated or is put on the left, the people from the left ask for stronger gun laws. When somebody from the left possibly does something to somebody from the right, they want to perpetuate the violence. They want to say civil war. They want to say, okay, so there's an inherent violence in their thinking.
Well, it's from the inception of the country, as I pointed out in the research that I did. When you look at the inception of our country, remember we're a country that's its foundation is violence. You know, we like to think otherwise, but the foundation of our country is violence. From the time we landed on Plymouth Rock, it was violent. I mean, we have become a better country. With time, we have become a better country. But let's remember that we were a country born on genocide. We were a country born on slavery. People don't like to hear that, and they don't want that to be taught. And look, many countries were born that way, Patrick. Many, you know, we're not saying that any country is bad, good, or whatever. A country is just what it is, a country. And we as a society now, we are trying to get better. We've been trying to get better. We overthrew slavery. We came up with civil rights. Women got the vote. We started doing a lot of good things. But you have to understand our past, and our past ain't all that good. You know, so it's that simple. Anything else, my brother?
I agree. The very idea of law and order that somebody keeps bringing up over and over in the chat is based on violence.
Exactly. Thank you very much. You have a wonderful day, Patrick. Folks, we got to close out the show now. Please support the program however you can. Right now, the way to support the program is to become paid subscribers of our newsletter. I ask you kindly, if you have the wherewithal, to please consider doing so. We work hard to bring you these programs and prepare the videos and to put it throughout the internet. If you support what we do, you get a chance to read all of my book. Actually, I should put it on the scroll now. All of my books, you have full access to all of my books. So I want to ask you so kindly to consider Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man, How to Make America Utopia. Also, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors. As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. Folks, look, we have a lot of work to do, and I am committed to the work. I've left engineering, I've left my company because I realize we only survive if we work at it. We only survive as a country, or democracy only survive if we work at it. So I ask you kindly one more time, please support the program, become paid subscribers of our newsletter. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Got to get out of here. Love you all. You can reach me at info@politicsdoneright.com. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.